talk about upgrading code, and particularly upgrading like an application from 8 to 21, I think it was. And I would just urge you to no, don't stop there. Keep going. Go straight to 25 or 24, I guess is the right version today. We live in an amazing time, and every 6 months they give us a brand new release of this amazing Java ecosystem. And I would encourage you to make sure you do whatever you can to jump aboard that particular release train, because it's awesome. There's just so much good stuff. And so, look, I'm really excited to be here. You saw my coordinates, right? My name is Josh Long. I work on the Spring team. I have a YouTube channel. Look, there are things we all have to do that we're not proud of, okay? I am a YouTuber, okay? It's not like it's just, look, it is what it is, okay? You can find me online. I have the Bird website. Here's the code, that kind of stuff. And I was really thinking about what could I show you all today to kind of better demonstrate all the cool stuff in the Spring ecosystem. I thought we could revisit the old standby favorite, the Spring Pet Clinic. And this stuff is this is a sample application, but it's 20 years old in some ways, but it's been updated recently. And so I thought, well, we could look at that. And then I got a little bit more ambitious, and I thought, well, we could actually just look at the organization. This is a huge organization with 23 different repositories that demonstrate the Spring Pet Clinic in terms of all these other technologies. And I thought, that's pretty cool. We could look at that, right? And then I thought, well, we've got like 25 minutes. There's just no way we're going to be able to look at all that cool stuff. And so I said, okay, we're going to focus on something in particular, right? We're going to focus on one or two little things today, and see how we can build services and software that better demonstrate sort of the typical approach to building AI sort of services today. And I thought we could do that. But I still like the domain. I like the domain of like dogs and cats and pets. And I mean, come on, right? We all love dogs. We all love cats. Everybody loves a good pet. They all love their pets, right? Everybody loves pets, right? I mean, come on. You probably love your pet. Everybody loves their pet. And I look, my pet is terrible. Okay. I don't know. He's not a good dog. My pet is named Peanut, and Peanut is a terrible, terrible dog. But not a good boy, right? Just a bad dog. But we keep him for 3 reasons. Okay. The first reason is just the bedrock fact that all animals deserve love. Even terrible dogs. So there's that. We keep him in the house because no matter what, he deserves a loving home. And then 2 is that just ego. Okay, I'm just going to be real with you here. Okay, just ego. In my home, my partner and my daughter both speak 5 languages. I only speak 3.5. So if we didn't have that stupid dog, then I would be the stupidest in the house, and that will not stand. Okay, so we keep the dog for that reason. And then also, again, just gonna level with you here. He is pretty stinking cute, right? Look at that dog. That's a very cute dog right there. He is very, very cute, but evil. Just pure malice, okay? Malevolence through and through. And so this dog, not a good boy. This is actually the best way to experience my dog Peanut is through a photograph on a screen over a streaming service from ideally a different continent, right? He can't get you. He can't swim, not that far anyway. So you're safe, He's not a good boy, but he does remind me of another dog about which I learned during the pandemic, whose name is Prancer. And Prancer's owner tried to find a home for this dog. And so she talked about this dog, and she put out an ad trying to rehouse this dog. And this ad is hilarious. It went viral in the pandemic, 2021. And she says, okay, I've tried for the last several months to post this dog for adoption and make him sound palatable. The problem is he's just not. There's not a very big market for neurotic, man-hating, animal-hating, children-hating dogs that look like gremlins. But I have to believe there's someone out there for Prancer because I'm tired, and so is my family. Every day we live in the grips of the demonic Chihuahua hellscape he has created in our home. She continues, I was excited to see him come out of his shell and become a real dog. I'm convinced at this point that he's not a real dog, but more like a vessel for a traumatized Victorian child that now haunts our home. And then she finally continues and warns ominously, Prancer wants to be your only child. And she signs off with some other advice. We already addressed the men and children situation. If you have people over, he would have to be put away like he's a vacuum. I know finding someone who wants a Chucky doll in a dog's body is hard, but I have to try. And then she warns, oh, he's only 2 years old and will probably live to be 21 through pure spite. So take that into account if you're interested. Oh, so this does not sound like, this sounds like this dog might be a little bit of a challenge, right? A little bit of a spicy dog. But, you know, again, very, very cute. Look at that dog. I'd pet that. That's a cute looking dog. So I can kind of see the appeal. And I think about these two dogs, my terrible dog Peanut and this terrible dog Prancer, a lot, right? Like, what if we could build like a service to help adopt these dogs, right? So I think we can go back here to my second favorite place on the internet, start.spring.io. And we're going to build a brand new application using, of course, Java 21, or later, arguably, you should be using nothing but Java 24. This is an amazing release. We have some things we need to specify. What do we want to call the service? I'm going to call this adoptions, okay? And then we have some things we need to add to the application. The GraalVM native image support, the web support, the PG vector support, that's the client support. If you, by the way, want to get started with that kind of stuff and you want like a Docker Compose file, just hit Docker Compose and it'll automatically stand up a Docker file for you. But I've already got a database of dogs up and running. We've got Docker Compose, we've got the web. We need OpenAI or Azure AI, or we need a module to support talking to a different model. You know, I think, what else do we need? We need an ORM. Let's use Spring Data JDBC to get that. And then, of course, we'll build a MCP client and service in a bit here. So let's add MCP client to the mix as well. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then, of course, finally, we've already got the GraalVM support. So then let's hit enter. And I'm going to open this up in my IDE. It doesn't matter which IDE you use. I like IntelliJ, but Visual Studio Code, as we saw earlier, is an amazing, amazing piece of kit, obviously. And by the way, the Spring team works on the language server that powers the support for Spring in Visual Studio Code. So, you know, you have our endorsement either way, okay? All right, so I've got an application, and what I want to do is I want to build an application that helps people adopt dogs. And so how that works is normally you go to a shelter and you talk to somebody about the potential dogs in the in the shelter, and then you ask questions, right? So I've got a database here, JDBC, PostgreSQL, localhost, my database, yeah, and then it's Spring Data Source username, my user, and then Spring Data Source password is secret, right? So if I click on that little button there, hit test connection, hit apply, hit OK, and then I go over here, you can kind of see right there, tables, and you got this table called dog, right? And there's our boy Prancer, right? His ID is 45. His name is Prancer. He's described as a demonic, neurotic, man-hating, animal-hating, children-hating dog that looks like a gremlin, okay? And of course, very surprisingly, I mean, nobody could have seen this coming. He doesn't have an owner yet. So what we're going to do is, you know, success, with air quotes there, success is that by the end of this, you know, I've got two, not one, but two terrible dogs. So we're gonna, you know, that should be not null if we've done everything correctly. Okay. So, you know, obviously, I want to be able to have a discussion, and so again, we want to use AI to support that process. So I'll build a little controller here. Okay, and we're gonna say assistant controller. Yeah, and we're gonna need to talk to an AI model. And there's this thing called a chat model in Spring AI. Okay. And the chat model, in turn, we can talk to via the chat client. If you've ever used the web client or the REST client or the JDBC client or whatever, you've probably already dealt with something of the same sort of shape and form, right? And so, you know, I'm a big believer in Spring AI's chat client. It's been written by only the best people, okay? Only the best people. So there's that. And so we're going to actually create an endpoint here to support interviewing, you know, the user, or the AI about potential dogs in the inventory. So we'll create an endpoint here, and it'll be a string inquire. And what we're going to do is we're going to inject the old Spring Framework chat client there. Okay, I'll call this AI. Hey, very good. And here I'm going to say this.ai.prompt.user, and then we're going to take in a question from the user, and that'll be a request parameter. So request param string question dot call dot content. So there's a response, yeah. Okay, so there's our simple request response loop. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's see if this works. This only works because we have auto configuration on the class path, which will stand up an OpenAPI, OpenAI, or if I had the Azure one, I would use that, or whatever. It would stand up the appropriate model. Now I happen to have an environment variable that looks like that on my machine, so this is still going to work because that environment variable gets normalized down to that configuration property. But just trust me, even though I haven't specify that explicitly, trust that it's been done, okay? And forgive me for not leaking my API credential. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Oh, I've got the Docker file, do I? Oh, we don't want that. I've already got a Docker image running. I accidentally forgot to deselect that checkbox over on the old initializer. And that's okay. You can actually kind of see what you would have gotten had you selected that checkbox. You would have gotten built-in support for generating and then standing up those Docker images each time you start the program. This allows you to get started really quickly. Okay, next thing. Oh, we don't have the Postgres driver on the class path. Oh, that's embarrassing. Look at that. Let's go back here. Okay. No, we want PG vector actually. That's PG vector. Okay. And we're just going to copy and paste all that. Okay. And did I get rid of the Docker Compose stuff? There it is again. Huh? And nice. Okay. Command Shift I. This time with all the marbles. The important bit was that I added the PG vector or Postgres. I don't think you need this if you have that, but whatever. Who cares? Okay. Take 5. Okay. It's up and running. We got a database. We're good. Now let's try our endpoint here. HTTP 8080/jlong/inquire. Okay. And this is going to be a post. So we'll say form post, and then we'll say question equals my name is Josh. Okay. Oh, nice to meet you, Josh. How can I assist you? Great. Let's see. What's my name? Let's see if it knows. Okay. I'm sorry, but I don't have access to personal. Look, it's already forgotten me. Okay. I don't know why I seem to have that effect on people. They meet me and then they're just as soon as they can, they memory hole me. And it seems to have happened here again. Now, in this case, I'm not going to take it too personally, though, because in this case, what's happened is that the AI endpoint, the API endpoint for AI, doesn't have memory, right? If you've ever used ChatGPT, you might become accustomed to it having this sort of long-lived memory of you, and it can relate new information in terms of the old information it's seen. But that's not the case when you deal with the API endpoint directly. So what we need to do is to give it memory, and the way you do that with Spring AI is to create an advisor. So what I'll do is I'll have a map here of string to prompt chat memory advisor. Prompt chat memory advisors. Okay, advisors. New concurrent hash map. And so that means that whenever a request comes in, this.advisors.compute if absent, we're going to compute a new prompt chat memory advisor, passing in a new in-memory chat memory. Now, of course, this is just an interface. You can back that up in terms of whatever implementation you want. And indeed, today is the 9th of April. If everything goes to plan, tomorrow or very soon, we'll have Spring AI M7. And one of the nice features in that release is that there's actually a JDBC implementation of this. So you can store things, for example, in SQL Server or whatever, really, really amazing opportunity. But of course, you could write your own implementation of this interface today. You don't have to wait for M7 tomorrow. So we'll specify that here. We'll specify the advisor. Okay. Restart that. Go back over here. And now we're going to say, my name is Josh. Okay, great. What's my name? My name is Josh. Great. So your name is Josh. So it's clearly remembered me. That's good. We're making good forward progress. But I still want to ask it questions about dogs, right? Like, let's see. I wanted it to help me. Remember, we're going to build a fictitious dog adoption service for our fictitious dog adoption agency called Pooch Palace. So do you have any neurotic dogs? Yeah. I don't have dogs, neurotic or otherwise. I mean, okay, so it didn't understand the assignment, right? Because we haven't really told it the assignment. So the fact that it feels like it has to condescend to us and tell us that it doesn't have dogs is pretty funny. I mean, was there anybody out there who thought the software program did have a dog? I don't know. So anyway, what we want to do is we want to kind of like override the system prompt. The system prompt informs the overall tone and tenor of the AI model when we talk to it. So I'll configure a system prompt here. Okay, var system. Now, look, I actually happen to have a system prompt. I'm going to take that system prompt here. See that? I'm going to cat the system prompt, and then, you know what? That does feel wrong, actually. Let me try that again. I'm going to dog the system prompt. There we go. Much better. And copy that to the clipboard system, and we'll paste that in there, and voila. Okay. So we'll say default system. Okay. Now it says you are an AI. Do I have a DevTools? Whatever. You are an AI-powered assistant to help people adopt a dog from the adoption agency named Pooch Palace with locations in Antwerp, Seoul. Wait, you know what? I'm so sorry. Redmond. Surely. Let's add Redmond. Seoul, Tokyo, Singapore, Paris, Mumbai, New Delhi, Barcelona, San Francisco, and London. Information about the dogs available will be presented below. If there's no information, return a polite response suggesting we don't have any dogs available. Fine. Okay. So now it knows the assignment. It's supposed to be acting like a representative of Pooch Palace. So take 2. I'm sorry, but I currently don't have any information about neurotic dogs available for adoption at Pooch Palace. Hey, it works. If you're looking for specific traits or behavior, please let me know, and I can help you find a suitable match. Neat. Okay, so this is better, much better, but clearly we're not there, right? Because it doesn't know about our dogs. And the thing is, we have this table full of dogs, and there's our doggo Prancer, right? So what we want to do is to sort of take all the data in the SQL database and send it to only the records that are germane to the query, of course, but we want to send the subselection of the data that's in the SQL database and send it to the model for final analysis so that it can, based on that, informed by that, give us a response, okay? The problem is the data is in a SQL database, and what I need to do is to find only the things that are pertinent to the query, right? So I don't want to send everything. I mean, truth be told, come on, right? It's only 18 records. All of the big models nowadays will support huge context windows, right? So I could send 18 records, no problem. Heck, I could probably send 1.8 million records these days. Well, maybe not 1.8 million, but I could send like 180,000, right? Something like that, pretty quickly, right? Not a big deal to send a lot of information. So strictly speaking, it could work, but this is too much, right? I don't want to send that much. And even if I could, it's the principle of the thing. You want to send only that which is required to satisfy the query. And remember, these things have a complexity and or a $0 cost that you have to account for. If you're using the Spring Boot actuator, it gives you observability. You can see how many tokens are being used on average, and you can then chuck that number over to a time series database. Something to give you a dashboard to sort of visualize the ebb and flow of your system and your expenditures. Okay, so I've got the data there in the SQL database. Let's adopt to that. I've got int ID, string name, string owner, string description. Okay, and I need to map these types to the database table, which is called a dog. And I've got in the column in the database table, I've got ID, name, owner, and description. Right? ID, name, owner, description. And then I'll create a Spring Data repository. So dog repository extends list of CRUD repository whose primary key is of type integer. So that's my quote unquote data access layer. If you're using Kotlin, then these extra closing curly brackets are optional. So in this case, it's very rare you can do this, right? But if you use Kotlin, you can refactor your data access layer and save 50% of that code. That is to say, 2 lines, right? Which is nice. That's a big deal. It's not very common to save 50% on something. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to now take all the data that's in the dog repository and then write it out to the vector store. Okay, so I'll say repository find all for each, and I'm going to say for each dog, I want to write it out to the vector store. I'm going to create a Spring AI document. Okay, so ID parentheses, name parentheses, and description parentheses. Okay, and I'm going to pass in dog.id, and the string I'm creating here is completely arbitrary, right? You can put in whatever you want. There's no schema. As long as it's consistent from one record to another, then we can find things that, all things being equal, are different, right? So we can say vector store.add list.of document. Okay. Now this is a document for a dog, so obviously it is a DOGument. Okay, so there we go. Now we're going to also configure an advisor. Just like we saw before, if you want to pre-process or post-process requests, you configure an advisor. There are whole hierarchies of advisors in Spring AI. This is like a filter or an interceptor or whatever. We're going to do the same over here. We're going to configure a default advisor called the new question answer advisor. And that's going to basically tell the chat client to consult the model, the vector store. In this case, I'm using Postgres for my SQL database, and I'm using Postgres for my my vector store. Well, I'm not getting very far with it because I forgot to do that, but I'm using it for both. But that's not always the case. You might very well have a vector store powered by any number of other different technologies, okay? So now if I go here, and we support them all, by the way. So, okay. So do you have any neurotic dogs? It's going to fail, maybe because it's taking its... Oh, look at that. It already worked. So yes, we have a neurotic dog available for adoption. Meet Prancer, a demonic and neurotic dog that is known to be man-hating, animal-hating, and children-hating. Prancer has a unique gremlin-like appearance. If you're interested in adopting Prancer, please let me know. Boy, am I. Look at that doggo, okay? So this has worked, obviously, but you might have noticed this took a long time, like forever to start up. And that's because I'm doing these embeddings. I'm writing to the vector store when the application starts up. Obviously, normally you would do this kind of right at the same time as you're doing inserts into your database for the dog table in the first place, but I just did it as a demo here. So I'm going to comment it out by making it false and commenting that out so as to avoid reinitializing the same thing multiple times. Okay, so I think we're doing pretty good. But look, what's the natural next question that you're going to have at this point, right? The natural thing you're going to look for at this point is, when can I adopt this dog? I mean, who wouldn't want to take that dog home and sort of figure out what life is like with that spicy little guy? So, you know, just making sure everything's still where it was. Yep, good, got Prancer. Okay, so the next question is, I want to adopt this dog. And so to answer that, we've given our model access to our data via the RAG pipeline that we just built. I mean, this right here, this is RAG, right? This is retrieval augmented generation, right? And the idea here is I want to give my model access to my data, right? And I woke up this morning and I said, I'm going to write a retrieval augmented generation pipeline. I wrote one line of code and I got a retrieval augmented generation pipeline. What did you do this morning? Okay, just ask yourself that. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to give it access to my services, my business logic. And remember, this is why the Spring ecosystem and Java writ large is so well and enviably positioned, because you know, most of the organizations are running Java, and their business logic is in terms of Java and Spring, right? And so making it so that that stuff, you know, that your model has access to that stuff is a no-brainer. Your services are guarding access to the data that runs your organization, and they control the business logic that runs your organization. So if you can hang AI integrations off of those, you are in a very, very good place. Remember, 90% of AI engineering these days is not building your own model, right? That's not a thing most people need to do, in the same way that most people are not going to write a SQL-based, C-based SQL database, right? They're just going to use something else that's already there. This is about integration, and here, Java and Spring are second to none, okay? So we're going to say, schedule an appointment to pick up a dog from a Pooch Palace location, and we'll say pick up or adopt a dog, okay? And yes, I know I could have used multi-line strings. I'm sad too, but I didn't. Okay, so tool param, there's that, and I'm just going to return a simple, you know, a contrivance of a date here. I'll say now dot plus 3 chrono units days dot to string, okay? So I'm going to return a date from now that's 3 days ahead, and I'll say scheduling an appointment for with ID, voila, okay? Okay, so I'm going to give my model access to that functionality should and when it needs it, okay? So I can inject that here, and I can say default tools scheduler. Restart. So now we go back over here. Do you have any neurotic dogs? Okay. Yes, we have a neurotic dog. Okay, that's Prancer. Good. And now, finally, okay, fantastic. When can I schedule an appointment to adopt Prancer from the Redmond location? Okay. There you go. It says April 12th. Today is the 9th. Looks like it did the right thing. Scheduling an appointment. It invoked that. this is neat. Okay, so now we've got this basic ability to do to sort of invoke our business logic. But obviously, this is business logic written in Java, and I've got it located in my Java code base. I might very well have another service or another integration. I might use .NET, for example, in which case I'm going to want this to be centralized and reusable. So Anthropic, way back in November, you remember November, don't you? It's been a little while, but they created this new protocol called MCP. And so the idea is you have a way to stand out business logic, to expose business logic and make it available to your models. Okay, so I'm going to create an MCP service. There's two different flavors of MCP. There's HTTP, and which is actually based on service and events, or standard in and standard out. I'm going to use the HTTP variety here. So we're going to say 8081. And in order for this to work, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just cut and paste. Okay, this is not something. Don't copy and paste. Cut and paste is fine. Copy and paste. That's where you get bad code smells and people start asking questions. Okay, so we're going to paste this over here. Okay, I've extracted. Do not repeat yourself, right? And then I'm going to tell Spring AI to extract and expose all the good stuff in the application context as an MCP service. Okay,
Josh, it feels like you're vibe coding now.
Yep. And I'm going to do this. We'll say that. We'll do this. By the way, how much time do we have? Are we almost out of time?
Out of time, buddy.
Okay, good. Let's run this. Okay, close that. And finally, this will point to that now. So we'll say bean MCP client, return MCP client dot sync new HTTP. Okay, HTTP localhost 8081 dot build. Okay, var MCP sync client, and return MCP.initialize. Okay, so there's this, and now I'm just going to tell Spring AI to use that for its tools. Okay, so we'll say this new sync MCP client or whatever. What did I call it? I called it scheduler. Call it MCP. Okay, sync. What is this? Oh, MCP sync client.
I think you're gonna have to wrap up in 30 seconds. This doesn't work.
No problem. We got this. Why wouldn't it work? Okay, here we go. So next question. Do you have neurotic dogs? Okay, that's got it. Now, next, when can I schedule an appointment to adopt Prancer from the Redmond location? It says April 12th. Go back over here. Go over there. You can see in the scheduler, the MCP service is there. So my friends, with this, we've managed to create an AI application using MCP. There's thousands of MCP services out there. The next natural step would be to build some agentic patterns. The good news is agentic just means using AI to drive other AI. And it's just basically think while loops, think control flow in terms of the stuff you've already got. There's never been, my friends, a better time to be a Java and Spring developer. With this code, we could easily take it to GraalVM, deploy it to Azure, and be up and running in no time at all. I want to thank you for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Josh. This has been amazing.